Hey everybody, so Daniel asks number 10. I can't believe it. We actually reached number 10 on the series, which is basically 2.5 months of asking questions to you guys and you all answering them with the best answers you could possibly give. And I've learned so much, so I appreciate it. This is a big one, it's a big milestone. And so we're gonna go ahead and just get right into it. Last video, which was Daniel asks number 9, I asked you guys, what are some of the biggest misconceptions or misunderstandings of New Zealand? And you guys had some pretty good stories. A lot of great ones, actually. So I'm gonna go ahead and start reading comments so we can get into it. And then after that, as always, I'll ask a question for the next video, or for this video for me to answer in the next video. If you wanna just skip to that part of the video, I'll leave a timestamp down on one of these two corners of when I ask the question. So if you want to just skip to that question, feel free. Otherwise, I'm going to go over some of these comments. They're really good ones, and we're going to figure out what some of the top misconceptions about New Zealand are. So here we go. First comment is from Early Jikama. I know I'm butchering that wrong, or doing that wrong, butchering it, sorry. But this one has got the most likes. It's got 7 actually, and it led all of our comments. So it's a funny one, and it starts off with this. It's not really a misconception, or maybe it is for some people, but a funny story. A guy I grew up with moved to the USA after getting his degree in IT. He works in IT over there, and when he first arrived, one of his coworkers seriously asked if New Zealand had computers and internet access. His response was that no, we don't, because coconuts don't generate enough electricity to run computers. The best part is apparently the guy actually took him seriously. That's great. That is a funny story. I cannot believe how dense that person in America must be. I guess if he works with him and he's IT, maybe he doesn't get the social cue of the joke, but that is hilarious. And I want to say I'm surprised that anybody would believe that, but honestly at this point, some of the people we've seen in all over the world just don't get jokes. They just take things so literally. So I'm not surprised, but that is hilarious. That is a funny story, and I appreciate that a lot. Thanks, Early. The second comment I'm gonna read is from a person named Korf, and I think, hopefully I'm pronouncing that one right. This one actually has 6 likes and 3 replies, so if you wanna go and look at the replies, you can, but I'm just gonna read the comment. And it says, I think the biggest issue is that people elsewhere really don't know much at all about New Zealand, which is fair. In the school playground back when I was raising a family in the UK, there was a map of the world on one of the walls. There was no mention of New Zealand though. This is by no means unusual, and it is something that has been highlighted here in recent years. However, people in other countries are well aware of Lord of the Rings and Hobbits, which is very true. I've been wanting to go to Hobbiton for a long time. So yes, everyone in the US knows all about it. So basically, New Zealand is a place that doesn't appear on the maps that's associated with a mythical world. It makes it hard to be taken seriously. Yet per capita, New Zealand is one of the most successful nations in the world across many fields. The first nation to give women the vote, the inventor of the electric fence, which I didn't know, which is also really cool. The first successful climb of Everest, another one I didn't know, which is really cool. Rugby world champions, producer of 40% of the world's supply of milk powder, another one I didn't know, all very impressive things. Just look at the Olympic medal tables. We might only be hovering around 20th place, but all the countries ahead of us are bigger, and there are some much larger countries below. We are truly a country that punches above its weight. It's just that the rest of the world hasn't really noticed. Hey, that's a really fair and real comment. That's sincere, that's genuine, and I appreciate it. I didn't know a lot of those things. And you're right, when we're in school and when we're doing things in the US, I don't think I've ever heard about New Zealand being brought up for anything. No history lessons, no geography lessons, nothing, like at all. So it is, you're right, you guys are here in New Zealand are definitely getting forgotten about, which is really a shame. It really is a shame because you have such an amazing country that, as you mentioned, has done so many things that no one even knows about. I honestly think there should be a documentary about New Zealand just so everyone in the world will learn so much about it. Like if you tell me Netflix right now just made a documentary about all the cool things about New Zealand, it would get so many views and so many watches. I bet you more people would move here. So thank you for that comment. That is very informative. I didn't know a lot of those things and I really appreciate it. So thanks, Korf. The third comment I'm going to read today is from Simon Teasdale. He's a regular here, makes a lot of comments, so I appreciate it, Simon. Thanks for sticking around and making a lot of answers appear on this video. They've been good. A lot of people have been liking them. So this one says, misconceptions we get here. We all either worked on Lord of the Rings or know someone who did. Everyone here likes rugby and cricket. We are basically Australian. This one really annoys us. Probably something about sheep. Geographic misconceptions we don't exist, especially common among map makers, which is sad. Australia is close. It's 1,700 kilometers away at the closest point and a 3 to 4 hour flight. So yeah, Simon, I've heard of a lot of the things you're talking about. So like Lord of the Rings, a lot of people talk about Lord of the Rings in New Zealand. It's like a big thing, especially in the US. And then everyone here likes rugby cricket. I haven't heard that one, but I do know that rugby and cricket's like the most popular sports here, some of the most popular sports here. So I wouldn't be surprised if people assume it, even though it may not be true. And it's just a stereotypical just thing that people do. They just group everyone together and just assume things. It's a really sad thing anyway. And then we're basically Australian. I do know that one annoys you guys because I have a lot of friends that are just like, have very hard feelings about Australia and being grouped with them. I'm not sure exactly why, but we'll talk about that. That's one of the questions I'm gonna ask you guys today. We'll get to that in a little bit, but probably something about sheep. Honestly, one of the things that we read about in New Zealand is how you guys have like, I think more sheep than there are people here, which, yeah, I can get why that's a misconception a little bit, but it's like a common knowledge. Whenever you Google stuff about New Zealand, it pops up. I don't know why, but I can see that would be annoying. Geographic misconceptions. The fact that map makers leave you guys off is kind of sad. Yeah, Australia is a big one and everybody always remembers to put that one on a map, but New Zealand's right there. I mean, I know you say that you're 1,700 kilometers away, but, and relativity to everywhere else in the world, that's relatively close. Like a lot easier of a flight than anywhere else. But yeah, 3 to 4 hour flight's still not convenient. It's not a good flight by any means. Just the closest thing to New Zealand. So yeah, I get a lot of the things you say. I definitely understand it. And you got some comments. I see you've got some replies on there. So if anybody wants to read it, feel free. But we're gonna go ahead and move on into the question for today. And it kind of bounces off of Simon Teasdale's point about Australia and some of that a lot of you guys commented about how annoying it is that Australia and you guys get pinned together in a lot of conversation like you're the same. That is it really is annoying. I understand that. So my question today, you guys basically helped me come up with a question today because from reading it, I was wondering things. I was wondering a lot of things. Clearly a lot of you are annoyed about being grouped in with Australia. So my question is, what are some of the things that people think Australia and New Zealanders share in common or have the exact same things and isn't necessarily that way? So I guess to rephrase it in a more common sense way, what are some things that you guys get grouped in with Australians about that are definitely not something that New Zealanders should be grouped in with Australians about? What's the major differences that people seem to think you all are similar with? What are some oddities that Australians do that New Zealanders don't? Or what's some differences between Australia and New Zealand in general? Like I'm not trying to say that you guys are the same. I'm definitely not. I'm fully aware that you guys hate that, and I'm fully aware that you guys are completely different countries. Trust me, I know. But for my interest and my intrigue and me wanting to understand more about New Zealand, I want to know what it is that people just assume New Zealand and Australia are the same about, or Kiwis or Australians are similar about. What are some things that you're like, no, you think we're similar in that way, but we're not? Because I want to know. I want to know because I know you all are different. I want to know exactly what people are saying that bothers you, that makes you think we're not even close to the same, and this is why. So that's the question today, guys. I think I've repeated it in 16 different ways, so I'm sorry if you're very confused as to what I'm asking. I just want to make sure that I cover all the bases. Basically, how are New Zealand and Australia different when people are grouping you together? What are they saying that makes you the same, but really you're not, and this is how it is. So whatever you guys can come up with will be great. I love reading all of your comments. I'm sorry I didn't get to read everybody's again, as always. I'll see you guys in a week in the next video. Daniel asks number 11. I appreciate all the support, guys. See ya.